Right. Now, the psychology of astrology. I don't know how y'all feel about this. I don't know where y'all knowledge, goes to when it comes to astrology. I know a whole lot of people are only familiar with their sun, moon, you know what I'm saying? If you've been that curious, or even rising sign, right? Your big three. There's more of these things, and I feel like there is a sort of mainstream technical way of addressing astrology and getting into it. There's also, like, apparently there's this psychological depth to it, right? As per the title, because that's what I'm getting from the title. So if you're as curious as I am as to like what's going on within that aspect of astrology, the psychology of astrology, let's see what's up with it, right? Go.
Goodbyes, I'd rather you tell them. But now the truth is I've digressed from all the feelings. So it's forever though. Like my mama's son is missing. Ain't no telling, do they love or did they kill him? The dominoes have fallen, we can't go back to beginning. This existential crisis, the reason I cannot keep competing and keep on living. So it's back against the world.
Yeah. Astro psyche, right? Look, let me just chop up just one thing. It's one thing that I wanna get into before we get into the comments, right? So my reason for getting into astrology, right? Yeah, let's get into it right now, right? So with the understanding of astrology, bro, like I feel like, as I said, I ended up developing the point of view where it's like, psychology for me, with regards to what it means, right? It's just something that provides more meaning to like my life, more like, just sort of like a tool that I can use to make my life, or the events in my life mean whatever they're supposed to mean, so that I keep on, aka waking up another day. That I keep on waking up another day and making this whole thing make sense. You know what I'm saying? Provided all the I'm at an age where that existential question where like, what do things mean? Why am I here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Who am I? Kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's not something like astrology as a tool, right? It's not there to mean, it's not there to dictate everything that I come to manifest and I come to experience in my life. You know what I mean? But just to clarify some things, right? As a clarifier, you feel what I'm saying? So as I clarified that, right, it's like I bumped into this thing when I think it's like my life's paradigms were shifting. So a significant event, something that's like kind of life changing, that makes you question things, at a deeper level, things like this. And as I said, I am at a point where I've experienced a couple of those kind of questions, those existential questions. It's like, nah, dog, I have to be by myself. I have to be to myself to make sure that I receive the proper downloads, so to speak, right? To receive the proper, just like, clarity, now that this significant big ass change is happening in my life, end up questioning a whole lot of things, you know what I mean? Things just like fall apart, so to speak. That's the kind of that's the kind of way shit seems, right? But then again, it's like that whole thing where things change, things happen for a reason, right? Things change, and then you question things, and then you might think it's your fault, you might think it's something that you have to take control over, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's where the whole idea of even the people of old, getting to a point where, nah, man, let me tap into nature. Let me see what nature is saying about stuff, about like even human affairs, bro. Like, surely the fact that we're going through a certain season, that does affect the behavior of human beings. You know what I'm saying? And therefore, as it's affecting the nature, the behavior of human beings, aka the decisions that human beings make at a certain time, when the energy is kind of like, it feels a certain way. So when people are starving, for example, right, let's go with that example. When people are starving, what happens? And they have little to no resource with regards to just like filling their hunger, fulfilling their starvation. They resort to just aggressive criminality to get what they need. You know what I'm saying? It's about needs being met. You know what I'm saying? So when the energy is at that level, for example, you know what I mean? Like what is it like? And I feel like we can connect that with the type of season where people would experience famine, because there would be seasons where certain supplies of food, for example, like agriculturally speaking, you know what I'm saying, farmers have dry seasons, and it's maybe a drought, or maybe there's a period where for whatever reason that environment is just like drought stricken, you know what I'm saying, that presents a lack of supply of that kind of crop, that kind of food that was supplied, you feel me, as a result. And then now certain energies are going to be seen as a result of that. You understand what I'm saying? So it's things like this where it's like, okay, nature has to have a connection with behavior. And you know what I'm saying? Connecting all of that with time. It's like, time helps us capture the, these seasons, so to speak, where it's like, at a specific time, this is what to expect. These kind of energy. So all of these kind of things, all of these kind of aspects, ended up connecting. And I feel like, going through specific seasons that, for example, I went through, as I had, revealed that, it was specific events, specific seasons that I had went through that I just was like, you question things, you like, damn. And you know what the crazy thing was, is the fact that I ended up seeing a pattern in terms of, I was old enough, I think it was like in my 20s, bro, like early 20s, 21, 22, late college days, right? Late college times, like as I was getting done, finishing up with that, but I dropped out, I never even finished. That's how crazy shit was, you know what I mean? So behaviors from when I was still a teenager, behaviors from when I was like preteen, and behaviors and habits and things like that, and patterns that kept on repeating. I ended up questioning the whole thing my goddamn self, like, what is this whole thing? What does nature? You know what? Let me be honest. I didn't ask it like that, but it was a matter of just like bumping into things that I resonate with. Because here's what happens with me. Like when I have like a gap to fill, pause, extra pause, 10x pause, right? When I have like that kind of itch to scratch, you know what I'm saying? I naturally do fall, I stumble upon like information that can help me out with what I'm curious about, or what just like I'm trying to get at. Because when something feels redundant for me, I keep going on. Like I can watch, okay, for example, let's say I'm on YouTube trying to get something that will just like keep me engaged, something that would like help me out with a need that I'm kind of struggling with. Like I'll watch maybe 10 seconds of a whole bunch of videos before I I get to a video of, you know what I'm saying, before I get to a video that's gonna just like give me that kind of value that I need at that moment, you know. So I can go like maybe a whole evening just like not even locking into just like maybe a video I wanna watch, really, because it's like, no, I want this, no, I don't, fuck, this is actually okay, let me check this out, no, but that's retarded, fuck it, or no, let me tap into this might, you know, nah, this sucks. Whereas, you know what I'm saying, I'm subscribed to the channel, it's like I'm tapped in, but it's like, yo, for some reason, nah, that's not the specific energy I'm trying to experience at the moment, so to speak, you know. So I would just like, you know, stumble upon things that would help me out when going through my little episodes of just like confusion and and whatnot, right? So, you know, I came across this astrology thing, you know what I mean? And, you know, obviously the whole pop astrology that, you know, eternalized, highlighted, you know, the pop astrology, the whole just your sun sign and just your moon sign, even just reading it on an article somewhere about it, you know, that kind of, it had enough synchronicity with my curiosity, right? It had enough connection there to where I just kind of dove in. Like, plus I was just like, I just needed something to give me, again, you know, better clarity, again, meaning to what was going on with me at the moment, you know. So, you know, yeah, I stumbled upon this thing and it resonated, man. Let me put it blatantly, just like plain simple, it resonated. I kept on just like wanting to know more and more and more, because, well, here's the thing, right? I was going through like maybe moments where, right, I was separating from the people that I, you know, that had been my friends for a while, right? I was going through this whole little separation thing. I was experiencing one of the worst breakups, you know what I'm saying? Damn, I feel like that's when I kind of officialized my backsliding from Christianity. Real talk, you know what I mean? From having devoted, you know what I'm saying, myself to the practices of the religion, the principles of the religion, you know what I mean? Just whatever whatever it means and whatever it stands for, you know what I'm saying? Making it the center of my life, you know what I'm saying? So things were just like changing in a crazy way. Okay, the family situation, I've always been going through some shit with the family. So what was now going on was the fact that I was connecting that, because it wasn't the first phase of life where I was separating from like things that meant significant, you know, that gave me significant value in my life. It wasn't the first time. So, you know, those kind of patterns started like making sense for me, you know what I mean? And it wasn't the first time when I devoted myself to something, committed myself to something at that level, you know what I'm saying? And for me to just like see it crumble, it just, you know, and at that time I'm like young, I'm dealing with college, I'm in college, you feel me? Yeah, it was what it was. But then I was like, yo, I just need something, give me better clarity of how I can just like compartmentalize, right, what's going on and the different aspects of what's going on, so that I can continue being myself. You feel me? So with the whole astrology thing, man, I dove in, bro, you know what I'm saying? So I do know about the whole houses thing, right? The whole houses and what that kind of means. Yeah, the fact that, you know, you're not just like sun, moon, or most people just know about their sun sign, really. But there's a whole bunch of these planets, you feel me? The whole Western, Eastern astrology thing, you know what I'm saying? It's really interesting, informative thing, you know, stuff. Get into it, bro. Like if you're interested. And again, bro, it's not something that's like just there. It doesn't have to just control your life and be the center of your life type thing. You know what I mean? So well, as Eternal Light said though, it will continue being criticized for some reason, but then again, you know, that whole thing of how you criticize it, it's all subjective, bro. You could use it, you know, like with everything, right? Somebody can use anything for destruction. Somebody can use those same things for construction. You know what I'm saying? It's all in the mind of the beholder. You feel what I'm saying? So let's get into these comments, bro. I want to see how people feel about, you know, this astrology thing, 2026. Astrology may not predict our fate, right? Astrology may not predict our fate, but it can offer a profound mirror into the psyche, revealing patterns, inner conflicts. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole connection, right? To see, like, you know, your psychological patterning as per the constellations, so to speak. It's not a coincidence that I moved from astrology to Jung. I'm not gonna lie, same here, man. You know what I mean? That's how I actually also knew about Carl Jung's material. That's how I knew about Carl Jung himself. You know what I mean? The inner workings of the mind are visible everywhere, not only in what we see, but how we see it. Exactly. It's all a projection of the observer. That's it. I actually like this comment. Hold on. Mentalism. What are the creators of our experience? I can only speak for myself. For me, this realization came through much hardship. Exactly, bro. What did I just like explain to you, right? A resonant comment, a comment that I share a sentiment with, right? So I can only speak for myself. Well, I'm with you, twin. You know what I'm saying? For me, this realization came through much hardship. At one point, I met someone who told me about the law of attraction and manifestation, which I thought was bogus. Being I grew up in a Southern Baptist home, I've naturally been inquisitive throughout life and found many things that just didn't sit well with me in my heart, in church, and how, oh my God, come on, bro. I feel like it's kind of part of the journey, bro, because, you know, as I shared with my experience too, man, I was separating from, you know, the religion that I was part of, that I had identified, you know, with heavily. You know what I'm saying? And again, having an inquisitive mind, you know, because from going, you know, from separating from a religion and something where, you know, I had made the basis of my decision making. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you know, when I separated from that, right? I found that I have my own inclinations. I have my own natural way of just trusting in things. You know what I'm saying? Trusting in my own way of strategizing, or my own way of dealing with certain energies. You know what I'm saying? And this was nothing but something I was latching onto because of separation anxiety, you know, from past experiences. You know what I'm saying? And that was at a time when it hit me profoundly. You know what I'm saying? That like I actually woke up to myself, so to speak. You understand what I'm saying? And that's when I was like, you know what? Whatever it is that I put my mind to, it's nothing but that. I'm just putting my mind to it so that I can see how I use it to make my life make sense. You know? It is not the sense of my life. It is not the center of my life. It's not the sense of my life. But it's a tool that I use to try and make my life make sense. You know what I'm saying? I mean, my life does make sense on its own. But it's just so that my mind can understand something. Because, the mind is important as well. Yes, we do have to understand the fact that, you are not your mind. And, you know, these kind of deep conversations that you are not these things, and you know, you're higher than that. You're a creator. Oh, come on, bro. Chill. I'm talking. Watch out, right? It's like, yo, you know, I learned to not latch on these things, but just like kind of try and use them as, you know, the tools to make my life make sense. And so therefore, yeah, I let my inquisitive nature as well run through this astrology thing, just so we can see what the fuck really going on. Listen to Alan Watts. Yeah, shout out Alan Watts from time to time. Yo, this, yeah, that viewer right there, man, shout out, bro. Astrology seems to be going through a modern day revival. Intellectually, as people are moving beyond a lot of surface level notions we initially conceived of under a materialist ontology. Oh shit, wait, let's restart that. As people are moving beyond a lot of surface level notions we initially conceived of under a materialist ontology and metaphysics. Yo, punctuation is important, gang. We tend to forget that we have no idea what the fundamental nature of reality is, and that regardless of it, there is a rhythm to the universe. Exactly, bro. It's the alignment of everything. You know what I'm saying? And the synchronicities are always going to speak louder than surface level actions or notions or whatever, right? The celestial bodies are okay, with the celestial bodies thing, yeah, y'all got that. But yeah, I get it. This video totally made me rethink my preconceived ideas of what astrology is and its potential value. Thank you, Eternalized, for yet again creating content I consider perilous. Right. Yeah, man, like just for research purposes and for clarity purposes, and you know, for kind of just the sake of your sanity to a certain degree, right? Like I would advise people to get into astrology. You know what I'm saying? Get into your own natal chart. You know what I'm saying? Birth chart. You feel me? And look, man, there's a channel that I would I occasionally, you know, tap into. It's, I'm trying to remember the name, man. Forgive me, bro. Been a long day. Astrology podcast. Why was that so hard to come? The astrology podcast. Hold on. Let's get to it. Astrology. Wait. Whoa. With Chris Brennan, right? Yeah, the host is Chris Brennan, bro. Like, this is a very, like, I recommend this, right? I recommend this channel right here, Chris Brennan, the astrology podcast. Yo, everything that's in depth about astrology, bro, like, you get it on here. This is like the central hub right here. You know what I mean? So yeah, if y'all want, you know, more knowledge, in-depth knowledge, I mean, there's a whole lot of channels that like cover this topic, right? Astrology. But yeah, you'll just like, you'll see what resonates with you, man, and you'll see how you